It's true. We're back. There we go. Less zoomy. Hope you had a great weekend. I had a very warm weekend. We were at Honda Indy all weekend, hanging out, talking about stuff and things. I say hanging out. It was hard work. We were there morning, noon, and night. Okay, not the night, but we were there for the entire day, like 12 hours a day, talking to magical people about stuff and things, answering traffic and police questions in real life, and also showing people Blinky. You know who wasn't there? This officer. Have you ever seen this officer? That's Officer Pat Troll, and I have not seen Pat in a long time. I wonder where Pat is hanging out. There's somewhere in Toronto, in a closet somewhere, that there is a Pat costume that is rolled up in a corner. I'd like to know where Pat is and get Pat back in business, because creepy, but cool. A little piece of history. Yeah. I got a tan. I got a lot. I did not use nearly enough sunscreen. I did put sunscreen most of the time, not enough. So sunscreen's important. Sun is dangerous, and I really, really felt it. Like I slept hard after that, because it was like I got home, I ate. Good night, everybody. I'm going to bed. That was my weekend every night. Did not work out. Okay, stuff and things that we need to discuss today. We're going to talk about, of course, the magical and awesome in every way Vision Zero enforcement team. We're going to talk about them. What else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about whatever you ask us about, because that's sort of how we roll. It's a show for you to answer your questions. We make ourselves accessible, and then you ask us questions, and then we go on about our business. We're currently broadcasting on these platforms, and I will note that we cannot play on the X platform right now on the main channel. So if you're on X, you'd be watching us through VoiceOver Cop, because I actually pay for a subscription, whereas the Toronto Police doesn't have a paid subscription right now, so they cannot put broadcast video on it. Working on that. I got approval to get it. It just hasn't happened yet, because it only started as of July 14th needing to have a paid account. I don't know. They used to do paid accounts for police agencies. They don't do it anymore, which is kind of sad. You know what I can do? I can like and retweet the live stream on the main channel. There we go. That works. That way everyone gets to see it, even though it's not coming through their main list. I solved the problem. Didn't cost any extra money. Okay. We will talk about that. So we talked about this. Talked about all the platforms we're on. You find your favorite one. Like YouTube might be the greatest for you. Whatever works for you, we're happy to have you involved with the show. Just please like and follow us and share it with your friends. We'd love to have more people watching our content and interacting and getting good information so they can make good decisions, making them safer wherever they are. A lot of what we do is answering the questions that you have about things you don't want to get in trouble for. Can you have these sort of lights or those sort of lights? Can you lower your car? Can you put aftermarket seatbelts in? What happens if you get into a collision? What do you do? All these things are important, and not everybody has the answers. It's also not always easy to find the answers. And even if you find the answers online, sometimes it's complicated. My goal is to make it as simple to understand as possible, and ask, and hopefully we have the answer. We're pretty good about it. If you miss I turned it off when I meant to turn it on. Here we go. Back on. Yeah, it's staying. Okay. If you don't have time to stick around for the whole show, know that you can also watch our reruns on YouTube. You can also magically follow us and subscribe to our channel on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts, whatever platform you like to get your podcasts on. You can probably get our show in replay. Obviously not live, but you can watch it after on Spotify, or listen to it on the other ones, because it depends on what platform you're on as to whether or not it supports video. Either way, if you're listening to it audio only, know that you can do that legally while you're driving without burning your data. So no tickets and no cost of playing it. Yeah. Now, if you're watching, if you want to watch us on TikTok and you want to take us for your ride, you can actually close the app and it'll still play the audio, but you're wasting your data. We love you for wanting to be a part of it, but I don't want you to, spend unnecessary coin, unnecessarily. I see that. Okay, I'm just going to take them off screen, but we have Peter DeQuintal, the Star Wars cop, who is helping in the background today as a moderator. He's in the room. We had a little glitch. It wasn't working for him last week, but we've corrected said glitch, and now we're less glitchy. Hey, do you want to? Do you actually want to come on camera and say hello? Oh yeah, he's doing it. He's doing it. Hey, we can hear you. I heard the table slam, so your mic is on.
Oh yeah, that's my hat. Sorry, I apologize. Good morning, everyone.
It's nice to have you. To everyone who's watching who has no idea who you are on this channel, you haven't made an appearance, but you have a big following elsewhere because you do a lot of stuff. You're an amazing guy in the programs world because you do all sorts of stuff and things with bicycle safety and stuff.
Yes, I'm big into bicycle safety. I run a bike rodeo program for 12 years outside of COVID, which I've had over 2,800 kids or so participate through. So.
Well, we look forward to talking some bicycle safety at some point and doing that. So I appreciate you don't have your headset and all that stuff happening, but we'll get you in the studio at some point, and which is just like across. I could throw a rock, or maybe roll a ball. It's down the hall. We're not far away from each other. Awesome. I'll put you back in the corner. Let you do your thing. Thanks for saying hey. I love your watch. He's got a Star Wars watch. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. We are going to do what I said we were going to do, which is we're going to talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. We have these officers, and they go out and they change lives. Now, people often point a finger and say they're changing lives by giving them tickets, and that's harassing people. Here's the deal. If you break the law, expect to get caught. Expect to be held accountable for the choices you make. Now, we are fully in the business of educating, so if that education is by way of this show and you learn what not to do and you don't do it, you don't get a ticket, or you get a ticket, and that is where you get your education. Education through enforcement is also a thing. We just want people to be safe. So they go and focus on the big four. They focus on the drivers who are speeding, driving aggressively, driving distracted, or also driving impaired. Oddly enough, the distracted driving is very, very serious, and as serious as impaired driving. People say, that's no big deal. I'm just sending a quick message. But the number of collisions that are responsible or caused by distracted driving is amazing. And actually, Peter was just telling me about a gentleman who lost his daughter to a collision caused by a distracted driver. You know, his daughter was killed, a 21-year-old, if I read that correctly. You know, these are tragic stories. Just because you do it and haven't hurt anybody doesn't mean it's okay. It means you haven't done it yet. You haven't been involved in something traumatic and life-changing for you or somebody else yet. So we want to change those lives before, tragedy occurs. Okay, where are the big four being enforced in concentration today? That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked. Today, they are spending time in 23 Division and 51 Division. Those are neighborhoods like Rexdale, Jamestown, Martin Grove, St. Jamestown, Cabbagetown, Riverdale, Church and Young, neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. It's real simple. We want to tell people where we're going to be, not so they stop acting poorly temporarily, but so the people in those neighborhoods know that we're there working to help them. And we can't be everywhere all the time, but we certainly spend time everywhere at some time. Okay. I see that. What do we got? We got hellos from Brandon, who was the first one in the chat today. Good morning, Sean, and to all. Sorry I couldn't make it to the Indy. I was catering to weddings. Well, weddings are important, and we can certainly, accept that apology. We were hoping to see you, of course. We always hope. We did have a lot of people come by and say hello. My friend from North Bay. I didn't say Thunder Bay this time. He said, I'm here from North Bay. I'm like, Thunder Bay, I didn't even hear what he said. But I totally went to Thunder Bay. Now, what is that? Because he said a lot of people make that mix up. They somehow hear North Bay and say Thunder Bay in response. So does that happen to you? I don't know. Yeah, lots of amazing people came by. Chase came by, Michael came by, of course, Kayla Draconis came by, and many others. So good stuff. We got Liz, who says, good morning, with 2 Indy cars. I think those are Indy cars icons. Good morning to you, Liz. Thanks for saying hey. Julie Massey says, good morning, Sean, and everyone out there. We got Brandon, who has a question about TPS Harleys as patrol bikes. We'll come back to that in just a sec. We're going through the hellos, and then we'll get into the heavy doing stuff. We got Joe with a good morning. We got Dua Mitzvah says good morning. Mitzvah, for anyone who wants to know, is basically a good deed. Mitzvah is a good deed. We got Chase, who says good morrow. Indy was fantastic. So nice to see Sean and Blinky. Yeah, Blinky and I hung out. And If you don't know who Blinky is, you got to go check out. BlogTO has an amazing article about the history of Blinky, but Blinky is, some people call him the dog-faced car, but Blinky is is a car that has a face, has eyes, and used to talk to kids. In fact, I used to sit outside of my school in the back, actually the backyard, the playground, and Blinky would be all set up there. And of course, we didn't know that it was an officer talking through a microphone, but Blinky was an animatronic-ish car who taught traffic safety. I'd love to see him come back into action, but so many memories of being a kid in Toronto because of Blinky, and people were just going bananas over him. In fact, last year he didn't come to the show, and people, of course, asked where he was. And then someone said that there was an Elmer the Safety Elephant car. I don't know if Peter knows whether or not there was an actual Elmer the Safety Elephant car, but that's the rumor. One woman said about 50 years ago there was an Elmer the Safety Elephant car. I'd never heard of it, but I know there was a Pat Troll. Just saying. Let's see here. Brandon says, I heard Officer Pat is chasing the Duke boys. That's Roscoe Pico train. If we're talking about those Duke boys. Let's see here. Luke Duke. What was the other? It was Luke Duke. What's the other Duke's name? Bo and Luke Duke. I think that's Bo and Luke. If anyone who has no idea what we're talking about, then I will. I can't help you because I am old and I know old TV stuff. But Bo and Luke Duke. Duke's a hazard. Let's see here. What is my opinion on the change of the 401? Thank you for all you do. Very welcome for what all I do. But I'm going to flag you for just 1 second. Come back because I just want to make sure. Okay. I think we've got all that stuff. So we go back to the first question that I flagged, and then we'll come back to your question. So does TPS still use Harleys as patrol bikes? Yes. Now, we don't have Harleys or motorcycles across the city anymore. Everything was centralized to traffic services and, of course, to the motor squad, which I was a member of. And it was all Harley up until recently, and there's some changes coming. I think it hasn't been officially unveiled, but there have been pictures floating around the internet of non-Harleys. So we have introduced a new motorcycle. It hasn't gone into full service yet, but you might spot a police officer on a bike that isn't a Harley. And more news on that soon. I just don't think I can talk about it yet officially. I can take the check mark off that one, move down to this one, and that's where we have Northern Bear 67 who says, what's your opinion on the speed change for the 401? And thank you for all you do. Okay. I have no problem with them changing the speed in the areas that they determined are safe. My issue is not about the speed limit being changed. My issue is that people choose to ignore the speed limit. So if they say it's 140 and that's okay, then I'm okay with people doing 140. I know that speed makes injury and damage larger, but I know that if it's deemed legal, it's legal. And if it's deemed illegal, then it's not permitted. And I'm a big rules person. So if it's 100 or 110, I'm happy that you do either, but don't do 130 and 140. It's just not cool. That's my thing. That's my whole take on it. You know, it's just like marijuana. I would have arrested someone for marijuana when it was illegal. Obviously, now I can't. I don't like marijuana. I don't like the way it smells. I don't do or use marijuana, but it's legal, so it's no longer my problem. Okay, let's see here. What Orem's dad wants to know, why are our traffic laws pay to play? Does that mean law doesn't apply to you if you can afford it? No, it applies to everybody. And it impacts everybody differently, obviously, but everyone has the choice of not breaking the law. To suggest that it's pay to play means that you are okay with the concept of eventually losing your license. That's what demerit points are there for. Whether you have lots of money or no money, you eventually lose your license for continuing to drive in an unsafe way. Because as you accumulate demerit points, the Ministry of Transportation will revoke your license. That's pretty even-keeled. I do like, however, the systems that some countries have put into place where it's based on your income. The more you make, the more they fine you. So an executive for a tech company paid a few $100,000 for a speeding ticket. That could work because that person likely, we don't want to do that. The overlay means that all comments will show up there. I'll undo it. Oh, you undid it already. He's learning. He's delving into, what does this button do? It's natural. Okay, but that's it. Yeah, so I have no problem with taking a big chunk of, like, if you look at bail, when someone becomes a surety, goes to the court and says, I want to bail Bobby out of jail, The court says, well, how much can you afford? What are your bills? What do you? They take. Well, one person may put up $500, and the other person may have to put their house up because it depends on how much money is dear to that person. Some people have nothing, and they say, okay, on your own recognizance, you don't have anything to give the court. We're going to let you out based on your promise to appear type thing, or being released on your own recognizance. But yeah, that's my take. On TikTok, so if you, I'm giving an instruction thing here. On TikTok, you're using your phone. You should have the ability to long press either their comment or press on their icon, and it'll open up in the top right-hand corner. You get 3 dots. This was a little. Let me know if you give it. I get a thumbs up if you find it. Mess around, see what happens. All right, KD has a question. Is the provinces have different laws, and if you want to move province, are they going to access your info? Yes and yes. So different laws in every province when it comes to traffic law. Your license is issued in Ontario. When you move to British Columbia, you import essentially your entire history over. They know who you are. Now, sometimes they don't give you the same license number, but they'll reference the other one. So even if I saw a fresh license with no history, it would have a reference that this came from there. And then because we're in Canada, I can click on that and see what the history was in Ontario. And it doesn't disappear. So you can't move to BC, then come back to Ontario and start anew. Ooh, we don't know who you are. No, we track you. And I got the thumbs up. We figured it out. Cool. So that's the story. You don't get away from anything. And yes, we have full access to all your information across Canada. In fact, we can look up history from the United States. We Interpol, we can look in Europe. Law enforcement talks to one another. But if you move, you do have to change your license. You have to actually apply for an Ontario license within 60 days of becoming a resident of the province of Ontario. And the residency, people think, well, I'm just staying here for 6 months for work, or I'm only going to school here, and then I'm going back home. In Ontario, even if you're temporarily a resident as a student, you're a resident, and you have to apply for a license or you have to transfer your license to Ontario within 60 days. Your car, if you're driving your car here for more than 30 days, you need to transfer it, which is different than if you are visiting. Staying in a hotel temporarily, you're here for a week, you're here for 2 weeks. You're visiting. It's different than becoming a resident, going to school, and having a tie here. Let's see here. Can you have red tint on your daytime running lights? You're not allowed to project red to the front of any vehicle in the province of Ontario. You're not allowed to tint your headlights, and daytime running lights are headlights. You cannot tint your headlights any other color. I should say any color. You can, however, have yellow lights. So back in the day, it was very popular to have yellow fog lights and even yellow primary lights, which are apparently good for cutting through things. Remember blue blockers, and people would wear yellow sunglasses? So yellow and white to the front, perfectly legitimate. Rear is red and amber only, but you cannot tint or cover or prevent light from going through the lens and modifying anything. Is not legal. Okay, I can uncheck this and uncheck that. And what do you have to say about driving examiners taking bribes to pass G2 tests? I've heard every there's we got to get the rest of the message. I think that those people are criminals. And now they may not actually. Could it be criminal? I wonder if there's a criminal offense. Anyway, it's definitely not good, and they should all lose their jobs if they're doing that. I don't know what charge. That's not something I've ever investigated, but I would hope that if there's a criminal charge to be laid, they should have it laid against them. They should be fired immediately. We should do stings. I think we should do stings. I've always wanted to be involved with a sting. Maybe we should start a traffic license sting. It's probably the only opportunity I'll ever have for a sting. Okay. We got... Hey, I'm down in Ontario for school for a bit, and then I have a Nova Scotia driver's license. Do I need? It's odd. I just talked about that. So yes, if you're here for school, you got to do it. Now, listen, Quebec. If you go to school in Quebec, they don't care. They don't want you to get a Quebec license for the temporary time that you're there, but Ontario does. Let's see here. Was that Star Wars Cop? Of course it was. I thought I introduced him as Star Wars Cop. It was indeed the Star Wars Cop. You should probably follow him on his socials because he does stuff and things that are cool. He also has cool Star Wars stuff. We had a good conversation about stuff and swords. I have a Toronto police sword. He has a Toronto police sword. We collect stuff. Rima wants to know, what are you talking about? Now, I don't know if that is because they didn't know what Ask a Traffic Cop in the title of the live stream meant, but I am a traffic cop. My name is Sean Shapiro. And in truth, I didn't actually introduce myself, although it does say my name up top. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I'm talking about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. And if you've got questions about those things, I am here to answer them. That's my thing. It's my bag. We got, what else do we want to talk about here? Honda Indy, I mentioned a little bit about it at the beginning as I close a window here. It was awesome. It was noisy. They gave out earplugs, and I wore them a lot. It was unfortunately loud. And I imagine that gave people who didn't understand how loud cars can be a taste of how it's not nice for everyone. If you're in there, you're motivated, you like it, cool. But for all the people downtown, they had a heck of a weekend really being tortured by that. Miles keeps watching us, but he doesn't like us. Rima on TikTok says, bro, how are my taxes paying for this guy to do a podcast? I question whether you actually pay taxes, but their taxes, or the tax dollars that pay for my salary and that of police officers across the country, they go to traffic education. At least traffic education is a huge part of traffic safety because we want to try and prevent people from getting hurt. You know, tragedy on our roads happens way too much. We lost 45 people last year to collisions alone in the city of Toronto only. That's not including the rest of the province or the country. So 45 people that maybe if more people understood what was right and wrong when it came to driving, what was legal and not, maybe we would have saved some of them. So when someone says, complaining about taxpayer money being spent to educate people online, I don't take you very seriously. We got here, bro, go retire, overfunded. Did we already mute this person? We were able to figure it out, or should I go mute them? Because I could do that. But Rima's got to go because they're just wasting lines of our text. Okay. Let's see here. We're pausing the show for Rima. Where we go? Where's Rima? Come on, Rima. I got to find you. Or maybe they left already. There we go. Bye-bye. Okay. Oh, I took care of it. They're gone. I scrolled back. Okay. And thank you to Dave, who says he's doing Dave went to my defense, but I am actually not doing it on my own. This is a Toronto Police studio. We're actually here being paid to do it. And as Boy Mom 8424 says, I'm a media relations officer and I'm a traffic educator. So this is part of my job. And it's not the whole day that I'm doing it. It's a portion of my day because I do other stuff too. Okay. Deputy says, oh, I'm so sorry to hear this. The Sweaty Deputy, great name, by the way. 3 weeks ago, I lost a great friend and a coworker due to an unsafe left turn. So sorry to hear that. Sorry for your loss. We have far too much tragedy on our roads, and it's all avoidable. You know, I talked about Vision Zero enforcement earlier on, but Vision Zero is a concept that says that minor collisions are going to happen, but collisions that lead to serious injury and death are totally preventable and totally unacceptable. And, you know, the fact that you lost a coworker, it's because somebody did something they weren't supposed to do. It's terrible. Again, very sorry for your loss. Boy Mom 8424 says, good morning. Good morning to you. Thin White Line Interceptor. Ryan is someone who made it to the Honda Indy. It was good to see you, my friend. Leon says, you. I'm not a big you person, but still, yo. Okay. I had to scroll back because we had a big update of stuff swinging. Okay. Does being in the Canadian Armed Forces help your resume to become a cop? It certainly doesn't hurt. I mean, we have many people from the military who patch over and get involved with us, and certainly you have training and expertise that is beneficial. Although, if you were a pilot, we don't have any planes, and if we had a plane, it would be a slow plane. But we, lots of military members or former military. So thank you for your service, and come apply. Talk to a recruiter. And it's a perfect segue to be able to say we're hiring. Now let me just open up the page that I want to talk about, and that's the careers page. Here we go. If you go to www.tps.ca/careers, you'll get to this magical page where you get, you got to press this button. This is the button I got to press. You get to this magical page with these happy people, all who have careers with the Toronto Police Service. Information about becoming a police constable can be found here under, guess what, the Police Constable tab. Great information along with a big old button that says apply now, but everything you wanted to know, basic information about the process and the requirements. So start here, and then once you go there, look at other options. You can, police constable may not be something you're ready for, although if you're with the CAF, I'm sure you are. Somebody else may be like, I'm not ready to make that commitment, but I want to get a job with a great service. Maybe parking enforcement is the place to start. Maybe become a communications operator. Just because you aren't ready for all the testing or don't meet all the requirements doesn't mean you can't apply and start your career with a great place. Now, auxiliary officer, if you want to become a volunteer, which is how I started with the service, auxiliary officer is an amazing opportunity for you. I truly loved it. And by the way, shout out to the auxiliary officers who volunteered this weekend to help us out at the Honda A&D. We had a large number of them, and they were awesome. They came out and they gave of their own time, and we appreciate them. Auxiliary officers do amazing work in the city. You may not realize they're auxiliaries, but they're the people with checkerboard hatbands if they're wearing forge caps, or if you look under the rock or under the patch, the Toronto Police patch, on their arms, they have a rocker that says auxiliary. Also, the back of their hat says they're easily identifiable, but they're all volunteers. They're not getting paid to do it. They're just amazing humans helping people, and we appreciate them. I think I said that already. I love pressing this button, civilian roles. These are roles that don't necessarily involve uniforms, but there's lots of ways to work. And there's only one job right now. Oh, my goodness. Communication services. This is the communications operator job. These are the people who answer the telephone when you call 911. These are also the people who dispatch police officers to come help you after you've spoken to someone who answered the call for you, when you needed help. So they are the unsung heroes of the police service. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. If you want to work as one, you should check that out. If you know somebody who might be interested in that job, even if you're not, let them know. Let them know that we're hiring. Okay. I am scrolling. Let's see what's going on. New questions to ask, or to answer, I should say. We have Tracy who says good morning. Leon says good morning. Adriano Rizza says good morning. And we already answered this question. We answered it earlier. The daytime running lights question. Cool. You want to tint it red, you can't do it, not legal. Okay. With speed going, what is this? Thoughtful words, 52. No, 62. I was right the first time. With speeds going on the 400 series, will the 80 zones be going up to 90? No, I don't think that's the case. Not the entire 400 isn't going to 110. It's sections of it that are going to 110 that are determined to have been safe. Zones that are 80 are 80 for a reason. They're not going up. At least I don't think so. All right. How long does it take for a non-restricted and non-restricted? I don't know how long gun licensing takes. That's an RCMP question. Okay. Good morning, officer. Why people went turning to a left road, nobody gets closer. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what your question is. Peter, do you know what this question is? I don't get this question. Peter's reading the question. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're asking. Maybe you can rephrase that for me. Taking the closest lane, maybe. So if you mean like making a left turn and going wide, it's an improper left turn. That would be a charge under the Highway Traffic Act. $110 charge or fine goes with that. Okay. Cowboy says hello, Sean. Hello, Cowboy. Long time no see. Not that long. You were here last week. Pretty sure I saw you last week. What type of? I do see them. I'm gonna go back to those in a second. I'm just so used to going straight down the list that I've been doing that, but I'm gonna go check out the pinned ones. There's 5 pinned right now. I'm just talking right back when I see a text message from Peter. Okay, so what type of quads or electric quads can unlicensed teens ride without needs for plates or license? Whether it's gas powered or electric, quads on private property that you have access to legally don't require a license. Even if you take them to a track, that doesn't require a license. Driving them on the road requires a license regardless of how it's powered. So that's the thing. And you can't use them in all jurisdictions. Like the jurisdiction has to accept them. Toronto is one that specifically excludes them. Okay. Legendary wants to know how you fight a speeding ticket. I don't know. I work on convicting people for speeding, not actually defending them. But you have to be innocent to start with. You know, I don't know. I don't know where you would go. You'd probably want to get some legal advice, and I can't give you that because I am. I'm not doing. Somebody says they have. Cowboy says they have no audio. You can hear me, okay? Let me check here on. Let me do a quick check. So I want to make sure that if you can't hear me, that's important. Needs to know. Is your TikTok coming through with audio there, Peter? Yeah, apparently his audio. Maybe you just reboot the app because Cowboy's coming through on TikTok, but he's got no audio. So I would reboot. But Peter's also there, and it's working for him. So do not know what's going on. Stephen Bell, a little later than his usual entry. He's at 10:19. Says good morning. Good morning to you. Unknown user says, when coming off the highway and you have a double turning right lane, does the same rules apply to the second lane? Yes, it does. So both lanes that are turning right, if they both have right turn lanes, can stop for the red light and then proceed when it's legal or when it's safe to do so. Complete stop, then right turn, but they have to go into the appropriate lane. So when we're talking about an improper turn left, going into the proper turn, so curb lane to curb lane, the one to the left of the curb lane has to go left of the curb lane. They have to continue into the appropriate place, again, unless there's a sign preventing it from being lawful. Okay. A reminder to everyone watching that if you would be so kind to put a letter Q in front of your message, I will then know it's actually for me, as opposed to just a general. Oh, and I can see a whole bunch that are pinned. Now we got 10, so I'm going to go take care of the pinned ones that our producer / moderator has taken care of. Who has the right of way? A person making a U-turn on a green light or a person making a right on red? That's an interesting question. The person making a right on red has the responsibility to ensure they can make their turn safely. The person who's making a U-turn is crossing in front of traffic that is oncoming and doing what is generally considered to be an unsafe maneuver. And they have a responsibility to ensure that their U-turn can be completed in safety. Chances are they're both going to be getting a ticket in the event that runs into a collision, because you both have a responsibility to ensure the coast is clear. If the person who is making the right turn begins their turn, the person making the U-turn is next on the game. They're responsible, because the way that this scenario is playing out in my head right now is the right turn person doesn't see someone making a U-turn, has no way of predicting that a U-turn is about to happen. They start their right turn. The U-turn person makes a U-turn. I'm going to put more blame, more onus on the U-turning person. The deal is U-turns are dangerous. They may be legal in some situations, but they are more dangerous than other turns, and I don't endorse them. Okay, new driver here. What advice do you give for people with driving anxiety? That's a very good question, and I have some experience with this because I've taught people to drive that have some level of anxiety. It might have been anxiety with driving with me as a traffic cop. I may have caused that anxiety, but at the end of the day, it's all about the fact that you got to get practice. You got to get out there, take it slow, start on private property, start in a remote area somewhere with less traffic. Whatever is triggering your anxiety, you work at it slowly. You can also talk to driving instructors. Some of them have worked with people specifically with anxiety around driving and have had a great deal of success. They're also teachers. Learning from someone you know, although cheaper, is generally not the best way to learn how to drive. I never pressed go here. Press go here. So it's generally not the best way to go. You want a professional instructor who can teach you the how to drive and the theory behind driving, not just do this and you'll be fine. And a lot of people share really bad habits. So there you go. Robbie Bobby 7 says, what a bunch of jokers. The officer's doing a great job and an important job, so let him do his job. Peace, thumbs up, fist bump. That's one of my favorite comments of for a long time. Thank you very much. We get a lot of love and we get a lot of hate, and it's always interesting to see how people battle it out in the comments. But Robbie Bobby is right on it. This is, I appreciate the compliment that I'm doing a great job, but this is really important. And, I've often missed and talked about the fact that I miss being on the road. And I used to stop one person and educate one person at a time. And here I am able to educate many people at the same time. So that's a big deal. I can't see how many people are in here right now, but our videos get viewed by just hundreds of thousands of people. Now, when it comes to the live stream on TikTok, it's one and done, it's off. But these are all played. We've done 83 episodes this year, so 83 hours at a minimum. And I've done some episodes that are 2 hours. So we'll call it 100 hours of video this year, just here to help you. And for the people who go, it's a waste of time, I don't know. If this is a waste of time, what wouldn't be a waste of time? Stopping one person at a time or helping thousands? Okay. Let's see what this is. Again and again wants to know if they need what is it? Do I need insurance for rental vehicles? As I got replacement vehicle as privilege. This all depends on how it's done. So if you're renting a car, they're renting you their insurance as well. You don't have to have an insurance policy from your home company when you're renting a vehicle. If it's done through your insurance company, they're probably putting a binder because they're organizing it from the insurance company. It's being paid for by them. They've taken your insurance and bound it to that other vehicle, usually. But it's a good question to ask your insurance provider and the rental company as opposed to asking me, because I'm not an insurance provider. Now, when you rent a car, many people talk about the additional insurance. So it says, stop yapping and answer the question. I am answering the questions. Shh. So the deal is that if you're talking about additional coverage, like you go to the company, they're going to sell you the minimum insurance. They have to provide the minimum, and then they say, would you like the no fault or the all-encompassing, doesn't matter how you bring it back, no questions asked. That's like $50 a day or whatever they charge, and that's optional. That's a different story. Some credit cards cover it that have conditions, so know what you're doing before you say yes. So we covered that one. Evandro, my friend, says, proceed before green on red light. Can you explain about it? What is the penalty and fine? A lot of people don't know about this charge because I think it's rarely laid. So proceed before green is just that. It's just that. You pressed on the gas and started moving through into the intersection prior to the green being displayed. So that means you came. It's different than a red light, because a red light means you came to the intersection, failed to stop for the red light, proceeded through it. But if you actually stopped and then continued, that's when you get to proceed before green. So let's see here. Proceed before green. Looking it up for you so I can read you the definition. Here, we'll do it this way. Before green. No, type B, not V. Okay. Red light, proceed before green, $260 plus victim fine surcharge, brings that to $325, 3 demerit points. Every driver approaching a traffic control signal showing a circular red indication and facing the indication shall stop his or her vehicle and shall not proceed until a green indication is shown. So it's as I suggested it was. Points and money. Carter McKinnon says, my dad let someone borrow his truck and that person did a hit and run. What can my dad do? Well, you can tell the police who was driving and turn them in. You know that it was them, provide all the information. As long as they were a licensed driver and you provided them permission, that allows the police to continue the investigation. Your insurance company ultimately, it's your insurance that you lent them when they were borrowing your car. So it's going to come off your insurance policy. The hit and run component is the failure to do what they're responsible to do legally. You tell the police who was driving the car, and we continue the investigation. Question. A lot of cars were damaged driving through the flooded roads last week. Do you know what happens to electric vehicles in water? I don't know what happens to them. I imagine most of them sink because they're so heavy, but I can't imagine it's a good thing. So if you have an answer to the question, and it was, I don't know. But I would assume most of the electrical, if not all of the electrical, is thoroughly sealed. But I imagine any vehicle being soaked in water makes for a bad day at the office. Oh, this is a question or a statement I haven't heard in a while. It's from a ninja on TikTok. And the question is, I thought government officer are not allowed on TikTok. Based on the fact that I am here, I would suggest that you've been given bad information. Federal government employees were told they can't be on TikTok. They can't use the app. Provincial government employees were probably told the same thing, that they can't use the app and that there was a security concern. First off, we are not on the app, but we're also not provincial or federal employees. We're municipal police. Our police service didn't want to abandon the 668,000 people who watch us on TikTok, but I wrote a business plan suggesting that there was a way for us to connect to the platform without actually utilizing the app. So right now we're using an RTMP feed coming through a platform called Restream that takes our video that goes to YouTube and Twitch and LinkedIn and all those, and also sends it to TikTok all through the back end, all without any vulnerabilities to security flaws, if any even exist. I appreciate the question, and I appreciate you being involved in the show. Can I run no front plate? Many people do. You become eligible for a $110 ticket in the province of Ontario because, oddly enough, front plates are required by law. We issue 2 of them in the province, and you're required to mount both of them. And there we have it. It's a thing. Are you reading off of TikTok? Yes. And no. I'm actually reading through a feed that is pulled from the magic of Restream. They actually go through. I have a website page open for TikTok, but I'm not actually looking at TikTok, even though your messages are getting through. Can you turn on a red for an exit on the highway? Let's see here. Can you turn on a red for a exit on a so you're exiting the highway if it's a red light, if there's if there's no sign there that prohibits you from turning right on a red, you must come to a complete stop, and then you can continue. I can't get over how many people run the red light. And I always talk about this. We did an episode with the automated enforcement team from the city of Toronto. And in that interview, if you want to watch it, it's on our YouTube page. It's on it's on a bunch of places, but YouTube's probably the easiest to find. Anyway, they talked about one guy getting 4 tickets in one day. He went around the block 4 times, and he failed to stop every single time. Guess who's joining us? If your guess, wrong way. If your guess was Sergeant Campbell, you would be correct. Hello. Man with a better tan than I.
Yes. A little bit of sun this weekend, and I walked in and I heard the story you're telling, and I know exactly the one you're telling.
We were talking about, because I've told the story before, we're talking about that whole round the block 4 times and 4 tickets issued. I see it every single day. The number of people who fail to stop and just make right turns on reds is astounding. And I watch 4 or 5 cars go at once.
Yep, and 4 or 5 cars, if there's a camera there, 4 or 5 cars are getting tickets.
I think
and they're not cheap.
No, and sadly, they don't have points. In other jurisdictions in Europe, they come with demerit points. Somebody I might be related to got a speed ticket in Australia, and that comes with demerit points.
If you get a ticket in Australia,
I don't know if the points would be applied, but if you were an Australian, they have points that are associated with that fine. I think that we should all talk and all share points. I think if you are a bad driver elsewhere, we should be able to use that information here.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? It makes sense. Red light means stop. Look for pedestrians. Look for oncoming cars. Look for people that are from maybe outside the country and are not driving all that well to start with. Why would you want to put yourself in harm's risk?
It is the most basic of the rules of the road. And if you can't get that right, you probably shouldn't be driving.
Yep. I have trouble when I am coming up to a red light and making a right turn to be able to look at the oncoming traffic and where I'm turning to and the pedestrians all at the same time
Well,
without stopping.
y- we have to assume that everybody's doing the wrong thing. And that's where defensive driving comes in. You have to assume that everyone's going to do the wrong thing.
I wish everybody had a motorcycle and a motorcycle license, and you learn you have to ride defensively because you always lose on a motorcycle, as you know. So take those experiences, take it back to the car and do the same thing, and we would all be better drivers.
I have a unique experience as a motorcycle officer. I've had unique experiences. Does your front license plate have to be mounted in the center? And if you mean center of the front bumper, no. There's many vehicles that come with a side or offset mount. So
Right.
it must be at the front of the vehicle, but there's nothing stipulating left, right, or center of the vehicle.
And I know a lot of people that do modifications on vehicles don't want it stuck in the center because maybe they've changed their grille or their bumpers, stuff like that.
Doesn't look purty.
Put it over to the side, no problem.
I think one of the best things to come out of all this customizing in gizmos are the tow hook adapters. Because for all the people who are worried about scratching their paint and putting it in a place that doesn't look as pretty, I think the tow hook adapter is the ultimate solution. It screws on, it's metal, it's not screwed in, it just works. And I'm happy with that.
Until you need a tow.
Well, at that point, you're no longer worried about your front plate.
Right.
You can put it away. Let's see here. But just to finish off that thought, not behind your front windshield. That is not a legal place. Facing front is not the front of your vehicle.
And it won't remain there very long should you get in a collision and your airbag shoots it back at you at about 200 kilometers an hour.
I like calling it the Ontario Shuriken.
Yeah.
Shuriken, throwing star, ninja star, you know? Yeah, sharp.
Sharp metal things come flying at you.
It's funny how metal is sharp and makes ouchie.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I heard that crossing double yellow is legal in Ontario, but not other provinces. Is that true? So yes, and it is true that there's no,
Yes and no.
charge for crossing the line. But if you cross that line and cause problems or observe doing something dangerous, you're still responsible for that.
That's correct. So the yellow line in the center of the road is there to direct you where it is safe to travel. A double yellow line would say that you probably don't have a very clear view to the front to be able to pass. So should you choose not to abide by that suggestion, you would be held liable for everything that happens as a result of it.
And you were warned. It's like
But-
even more so.
But we won't give you a ticket for it. I'm not sure about other provinces.
Most other provinces, it's illegal.
Yeah.
But double versus single line is generally going to mean that as that line continues, at certain points, there will be dash or hash marks, which means that the line that is hashed, the side that's closest to, means you can have visibility while the other one can't. So let's say you're going up a hill. The side that is going up the hill would have a solid line potentially, but down the hill could have a hash line, meaning some people can pass, like it would be safe to pass while
Right.
others couldn't. So that's why it's two, because really a single yellow line has the same warning as a double yellow line.
So what's
just-
the difference between a yellow line and a white line?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, because when I gaffed on the very first time that I was asked this on live radio. I said, well, the yellow one is cautionary and the white one is law. And then as soon as I said it, I knew I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I went and I found it and I doubled down. So yellow means that the traffic on the other side of that line is coming at you, the opposite direction. On the white line, traffic is going the same direction. So now whenever you drive, you're going to notice this. You look down that line, you'll realize that it's a division of direction.
Yep. If you have a completely divided road, all the lines on your side of the road will be white, even if it's a multiple lane road. And then right over to the curb where vehicles may be merging with you at the same direction. But a yellow line, cautionary.
Yeah.
Hey, there's more risk here. All of a sudden, cars are coming the opposite direction. of you.
It's the message. It's sending more than just, artsy stuff on the road.
Right.
Are there ticket quotas, I think is what you're asking, as opposed to quotas tickets? If there was a band named Quotas, anyway, ticket quotas. I think there should be. I don't know why there's such an issue with people saying that, but there are no quotas. Whether I write 1 or I write 100, I'm doing my job.
And I, as a supervisor, I can use the amount of tickets because we want officers out there to be proactive, to be engaging the public, and to stop the bad driving behavior. So if I look at an officer's day and they're doing a collision report or an investigation and they don't get to do some proactive enforcement, I will understand that. But if they have gaps in their time when they're not doing anything and they're not providing a service, I want to make sure that they're working and doing something. So I will look at their ticket numbers to say, what have you done in the last couple of hours?
Yeah, show me that you did something. It doesn't have to be this or that. It's something. And you also have the ability of seeing where they are. Were they at Tim Hortons parking lot all day? Like, we're paid to do a job. We have to be responsible and accountable to the public that pays our bills.
Right.
It's not about a quota. It's about doing your job. But in terms of going out on the road, people get all offended by quotas. Again, there aren't any. But why would that be a problem? Why is it offensive? I can go out to the street and see a dozen tickets in just fractions. Just stand there for 5 minutes, you see 10 tickets.
Easily.
I cannot write tickets as fast as I can see them.
Easily.
Quotas don't I think the misunderstanding or the belief is police officers are gonna go out there and write tickets because they have to meet a quota. Otherwise, they
and make
wouldn't.
stuff up and get itsy bitsy on
Yeah,
every little thing. Oh no.
No, there are so many grievous offenses being taken between cell phone alone. Every other car, people are driving with their phones on.
Yep.
Yeah. Who's saying that? I see that, but someone in the chat was saying that there's quotas. But anyway, whoever's saying that is incorrect.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the guy who asked the question's now saying, but there's quotas for realties. But you're wrong.
Go out there and work for realsies.
Well, yeah. If you want to join the service, you can find out exactly the fact. That's Richard Battle Phillips, who really believes there's quotas. So you ask the question, then you make a statement, but you're wrong. Okay. Question from Sony Sung Rickson. Traveling in an 80-kilometer-an-hour single-lane road and car in front of me between 40 and 50, can I go over the yellow? Yeah, if you can pass safely, then you can certainly go and pass that vehicle safely.
So the road markings are there to advise you the best that they can, assuming that you're traveling at the posted speed limit and not above and not below. But if you're following behind a car that is between 40 and 50 kilometers, traveling 40 to 50 kilometers an hour, you may have the opportunity to safely get around that vehicle, should you choose to, on a double yellow line, as long as it is safe to do so. And as long as you're not coming up on a crest of grade, around a curve,
I'm glad you brought that up.
Viaduct, railway tracks, all those things, or where it's signed not to, you can't do it.
Because there are, and you just mentioned pretty much all of them, those are places that regardless of the sign, U-turns are, that's a U-turn. Those are U-turn places, not passing.
But still passing.
Crest of grade, and I immediately went to U-turn, so I just went off on a tangent and I was wrong. Because you said tunnel and viaduct and thing, and I'm like, oh, we're talking U-turn. Anyway, my brain works in weird ways. I went off on a tangent. So the big thing is that if it doesn't end well, you're going to be the one on the hook, regardless of what they were doing, because you're still crossing a solid line.
Err on the side of caution.
Yeah. Are trucks with trailers hauling hay required to have the orange triangle on the trailer?
Depends. What kind of trailer? Is it a farm cart, four-wheel farm cart that is traveling at less than 20 kilometers an hour? Yes.
I'm so glad you know about this stuff because I know nothing about hay.
Hey. Yes, if it's a slow-moving vehicle and it's there because of if it's an implement of husbandry, or agriculture, or a road building machine that is operating on a roadway, then yes, it does. You cannot put it on your mini bike or your go-kart, golf carts.
It's not a catch-all, get out of jail free
and
cart.
then get down the road, right? It has to be actually a tractor operating, doing farming or agriculture.
It's a slow-moving vehicle, not because you're moving it slow. It has to be categorized and appropriate. Jeff wants to know if motorcycles are allowed in the HOV lanes on highways. And I think it was 2007 or 17, there's a 7 in my memory, when they became lawful to be solo operated on HOV lanes in the 400 series highways.
On the 400 series highways. But we have HOV lanes within the city of Toronto. Some of them are on the highways here, and they're not allowed.
Say that one more time.
So going up the Don Valley Parkway, there is a HOV designated lane for buses.
But that's a diamond multi-use lane.
Right.
As opposed to, because we're not at 400 series on those roads. So that's not truly an HOV lane. But yes,
So within the city of Toronto, unless it's signed that the motorcycles can be there, they cannot.
Yes.
But on the 400 series highways, yes, they can.
And that's where signage is so important. People say, how do you know what speed it is? Well, look for the speed limit sign. How do you know it's allowed in the HOV lane? Well, again, HOV lane is one thing on the highway, and then on the highway being the 400 series highways. And then when we're on Don Valley Parkway, those are specifically signed for GO Transit buses.
Go Transit and
police
and Toronto Transit.
And then there are also on our surface routes, like, is it Don Mills? Don Mills that has some.
Don Mills has
Yeah,
one.
they have some diamond use lanes. They are allowed for multi-passenger, taxi, motorcycle, if signed that way, but not all of them have more. So you have to pay attention to the signs. And when you just make the assumption is when you have problems.
I love it. Driving the motorcycle,
It does.
pass by vehicles. Yeah.
It's very nice. What happens if your license lapses, which means you did not renew it? Then you are unlicensed and eligible for the fine of driving unlicensed, which also causes some issues with insurance.
Yep. And your renewal as well.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a graduated license and it lapses because you didn't go for your retest or upgrade, then you may have to start over at the beginning, depending on the timing.
Yeah, a G2, I'm pretty sure you can just do your G2 test again to renew, but you want to do these things before they expire. You want to be, these are things, most people have these magical devices in their pockets. They have calendars, they have reminders. Give yourself 60, 90 days in advance. It's your birthday. Things expire on your birthday. These are things that you are probably looking forward to or not looking forward to.
Yes.
And there's no excuse.
I have an old staff sergeant who's retired from here. He used to call your birthday is loser day because you lose all your money because you have to give it back to the government to renew your health card, to renew your driver's license, to renew your license plates, to renew everything. So
it's no fun.
Loser day means no money. Hopefully you get lots of money as gifts. But
yes, and tickets if you don't renew your stuff. And again, if you don't remember when your birthday is, you can sign up for a renewal. Not sign up for a renewal, sign up for reminders from the Ontario government. If you're going to go to TrafficCop.ca, I have links to the page to set up for the provincial government to send you a text message in advance of your birthday. They're not actually saying happy birthday. They're saying renew your health card, renew your license plates, renew your driver's license.
One of the best gifts that I always asked for from my parents when I was younger and struggling to make ends meet was for my birthday, please pay for my sticker on my plate.
Which you don't have to do anymore,
Right.
except for you and your snowmobile.
Yeah, well, on my snowmobile. Yes, the government has decided that everybody else gets a freebie, except for commercial motor vehicles and snowmobiles that are not allowed to be driven on the road.
Makes
and they
sense.
collect a road tax on a vehicle that has been operated.
Well, we thank you for your road contributions.
Oh, it bugs me.
Rowley wants to know, do speed camera tickets go on your driver's license record? Well, the answer is no. It's not your driver's license that it's associated to. It's associated to the owner's documentation or the registered owner of the vehicle.
Right.
So
you will not be able to renew it if you have outstanding fines.
The plates.
And we will come and give you hefty tickets if you're driving around with an unrenewed license plate.
Which then does go on your driver's license.
Yes.
So there is a path to having your license affected, but the simple ticket of a speed camera does not directly cause your license to be, there's no points, no demerit points. And that's either a good thing or a bad thing.
Well,
I'd like to see it change.
I guess it's a good thing if you're out there, committing offenses.
If you plan on, you'll continue. Then it's really pay to play. Linda says, "Good morning to another hero. Love your tan."
Yeah,
he is really dark.
I'm a lobster-looking kind of guy right now. I spent, I guess about 36 hours this weekend out at the Toronto Honda.
Ontario Honda Dealers Indy. Now that it's over, I finally say it right.
Yes, it was great. We met a lot of people, a lot of fans, engaged a lot of people, had really good conversations, and we got to show off our historic fleet.
Well, we had our 88 Diplomat, we had a 57 Chevy, we had our 80, I think he's an 88 Blinky, a 2011 Crown Victoria. We had a newer, I can't remember if it's a 2018 or newer for the Charger.
Yeah,
it's a newish
one. Definitely newer than that. It's a
2020 something?
23, I think.
Oh, there you go. I remember from the auto show. I think you're right.
And we had Blinky there. The Blinky hasn't been out in a while. Very, very positive and very, very negative comments about Blinky. Those who grew up in the city of Toronto, Blinky was a car that was brought out to public schools, and it is a talking car. It would sit in the parking lot, and students would come out and discuss road safety and pedestrian safety and bicycle safety and things like that. It was great. Most people my vintage remember Blinky and wanted pictures taken with it and were so happy that it was there.
100%.
People that didn't know what Blinky was kind of said, that's weird. That's creepy. It's, I don't know, it's unsettling. So I guess it all depends on if you were young enough to remember it and it was a good thing for you, then it was good.
Peter says that he was 5 and wanted to become a cop because of Blinky.
There you go.
That's wow. It's funny. I wonder if Blinky subconsciously programmed me to want to become a police officer, because I have those memories of being in the back of Snowcrest Public School in North York. I mean, which then became an IBM test facility. Now it's a French school. But I remember being in the back there when Blinky came, and I'm pretty sure Blinky was yellow back then, sitting cross-legged on the tarmac. And yeah, it was awesome and cool. And now possibly I can understand why kids think it's creepy.
Yeah. And I got to sort of drive it this weekend. It doesn't
That's
actually
true.
drive on its own. And
No
you can't
drivetrain.
see out of it.
Illegal tinted windows.
Illegally tinted
But then
windows.
again, there's slight driver obstruction with his face.
Yes. So Blinky, instead of having the windshield on the front, has a big fiberglass kind of face on the front. And I had to drive it up, get it on a trailer.
Little known fact, the eyes were controlled by the windshield wiper motors.
I did not know that.
Yes. And I think the original one I saw, it was a wired speaker box control.
Yep.
But now it seems to have modern radios in there. I just don't know how to use them.
Yeah, I saw them in the trunk. I was thought about.
In the trunk?
Yeah.
The radios were there?
Yeah.
Oh,
We could have played with it.
we should have. I'm not doing this for a year. Okay. Is it a red offense for not stopping on a right turn on red? What if no right on red? Can there be 2 tickets for red and sign offense? Yes. Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
So it's failed to stop for red light. So it's running the red light, and it's a prohibited turn.
Yep.
If there was a sign truly prohibiting, or disobey sign, like there's a couple of different charges, whatever is most appropriate.
And a 4 point plus a 3 point on top of that.
Ooh, so if you're a graduated licensed driver, like someone in
Done.
you're suspended because you can't accumulate any charge that has 4 points on its own instantly triggers it, or I think if you then with combination accumulate 6 points.
I think it's 6. Yeah.
But if you have one charge that's 4 points, there you go, because you're driving. The 4 point ticket is a dangerous driving offense. Good question from Michael. Also, it was good to see you, Michael. Who should I call if I see an impaired driver on the road? Is there a specific number or 911? 911 is the right one.
Absolutely.
That's
That's a huge dangerous situation.
that's someone who's putting lives at risk immediately, right then and there. Things are going to get worse, not better. You don't sober up while you're driving impaired. You tend to get worse, and it gets very messy.
Yeah.
So that's immediate risk of life, a risk to life, and 911 is absolutely the right way to go. Some people get really worried. What if I call and they're not drunk? That's a whole concept. You're making your best efforts. You're seeing something that's obviously causing you to be concerned, and it's happened to me. I called 911 on my way home from work, and I stayed behind this car. I have video of it, in fact, because I did a TikTok video on it with my dash cam, and they were over the lines on both sides, weaving all over the place. And it took until we were in York Region before they were pulled over. And they were using their phone, and they were really tired, but they were not impaired by drugs or alcohol.
Yep.
But fatigue and cell phone, absolutely. So, just another example of why distracted driving is so dangerous. They looked as though they were drunk. All right. Can you drive a vehicle with flip-flops? John wants to know.
I don't think pink ones are allowed. But
Pink,
everything
there are
else,
regulations on pink.
Everything else is okay.
The deal is that we don't suggest, endorse, or like the idea of flip-flops because they kind of flip and can get stuck behind pedals, and they're just not the best choice, but they're not illegal. People ask the question about driving barefoot. It's the same situation. When you smash that pedal in an emergency, you might hurt your toes. Like you push differently when you have a shoe. You might push with the end of your foot, but you have to push with the pad of your foot to be safer when you're barefoot. It's just a recipe for bad stuff.
And it's something you have to think about in the event of a collision. What is going to happen? There's going to be glass and broken debris everywhere. What happens if you have to get out of your vehicle? First of all,
Chemicals,
flip-flops go flying in crashes, but they're still better than doing it in bare feet. So think about your escape when you're getting out of a vehicle, maybe in a hurry because something has happened. How are you going to do that in bare feet without causing further injury to yourself? So just something to think about.
Absolutely. It's the glass and fire and trying to run in barefoot doesn't sound like a good, because you're running away, get away, fire, people, every movie. Unnecessary slow driving. What is the fine for driving below the speed limit? So first off, driving below the speed limit, just like you're doing 95 and a 100, doing 55 and a 60 is not illegal. It's the limit, not the minimum.
In Quebec, they have minimum speeds on their highways, and that is to allow you a range of speed to safely operate, assuming you don't go over the maximum.
Or under the minimum.
Right.
And that's an easy, and I'd love to see that here. If we had a posted minimum, it would make a lot of sense. Right. But we don't. Instead, we have an offense for unnecessary slow driving. It's Section 132 of the Highway Traffic Act. It comes with a $180 fine and 2 demerit points, and it reads this, at least the short form wording is, no motor vehicle shall be driven on a highway at such a slow rate of speed as to impede or block the normal and reasonable movement of traffic thereon, except when the slow rate of speed is necessary for safe operation, having regard to all the circumstances. So if the speed limit is 100, but it's an icy, slow blizzard conditions, it's obviously not illegal to do 40 if that's as fast as you can safely go.
And if everybody else is doing that because of the conditions of the roadway or the environment or what's going on, then it's not unnecessary slow driving. It is reasonable driving.
And in fact, you might be pulled over for doing 100 in a 100 zone when everybody else is doing 40 because it's no longer reasonable or safe to go. It depends. Everything depends. Yep. And all these things are left to some level of interpretation. But let's say it's a dry day and you're doing that 40 kilometers an hour while everyone's doing 100. Well, that could be the unnecessary slow driving where you were causing a hazard in that environment. But if you were doing 80 in a 100, I have no problem with that. You stay to the right. That's the big thing. Stay to the right so people who are doing the speed limit, or unfortunately people going above the speed limit, aren't trying to pass you in a dangerous manner to the right. Okay. But I think it's a great question. I really appreciate you asking it. We have a compliment from Buck who says, you boys are doing a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What do we have here? Are there scanners for expired tags? Is there a ticket? So we have automated license plate scanners in our police vehicles that will check for all sorts of things, but they run the plate and see what's up. So obviously we would know if you're driving with an expired tag. Is that the primary focus of what's being done with those? We're probably running everything and officers are making determination. I would think we should, at very least, we should send everybody a letter saying, hey, we saw you.
So expired tags usually means that you may not have valid insurance because you weren't able to renew it. So if you don't have valid insurance, that may be a reason to pull you over and give you the $5,000 ticket, along with $110 one for.
But it was $5,000 to $25,000 because it's a range, and even up to 6 months in jail. Right. Although I do see that most people are getting $5,000 fines. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with $25,000. I've not.
You know what? Corporations maybe. I've seen that. I would imagine first, second, third, fourth. Once you get up to fifth, sixth offense,
yes,
then yes.
We have Daily News who says, is lane filtering or lane splitting on a bike legal? So we talk about this a lot, and it's so much controversy. Actually, was just commenting, I think 4:30 this morning, I was responding to someone who said, you're giving false information. It's not illegal. There's no specific law that states lane splitting is illegal. However, that behavior meets the requirements for careless driving, stunt driving, or criminal dangerous driving, depending on the circumstances being observed by the officer. So a lot of what we talk about is in the absence of this, there is that, law is this funny thing, and that's why lawyers exist, is because there's interpretation and they challenge and argue things back and forth.
If you're splitting through traffic, going faster than the traffic around you, that's a marked departure from the speed that everyone else is going. And if the speed is 0 and you're flying by them, absolutely. And that's a stunt. And no problem writing that at all. And both of us being motorcycle riders know how easy it would be, how fun it would be just to pass everybody and split the lanes. But is it safe? Absolutely not. And do we have to come and scrape you off the roadway afterwards?
All too often.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even if you're a majestic, fantastic, professional, amazing rider, have you seen everybody else on the road? we have a lot of drivers who shouldn't be drivers, and that's why we're so busy with collision investigations and safety talks and crashes. Like, it's people on cell phones are distracted. The people say, "Oh, well, I'm good. I'll be." No, people zig and zag when they shouldn't. They change lanes last minute. They don't look over their shoulder. There's a lot of risk on the road. Driving and riding a motorcycle, both those things are inherently dangerous things.
Yeah.
So,
And you know what? You can say all that you want. Well, it wouldn't be my fault. It would be their fault, and which is fine. But you won't be able to say it when you're dead.
it's an unfortunate thing.
So,
Limited communication with dead people. Question. Good morning, Sergeant Campbell. It was great meeting you at the Indy on back roads with no road paint, like at the countryside. Is it legal to pass?
so same conditions apply. And by the way, it was awesome meeting you. Same conditions apply. If you can be done safely, if you have a clear view to the front and you can see oncoming traffic, safe is the big word. Yes, absolutely you can.
Here's a question that bothers some people, and I don't know why people are bothered by it, but can you wear a turban in place of a helmet? And the answer is depends. If you are a practicing Sikh who follows all the elements of the faith, then yes, because the Ontario government, along with other provinces in Canada, have allowed an exemption, a religious exemption, for members of the Sikh faith to wear a turban. That's not to say that you can choose as, for me to choose to wear a turban on Tuesday because I don't want to wear a helmet. I don't have that ability. It's not something I'm eligible for.
Right. And now I have a personal opinion on it that unfortunately, you don't have the protections of a good helmet on your head when you're doing that, and that's a choice that they're making to be able to operate a motorcycle. I'm a firm believer. Being a motorcycle rider, being an ATV rider, being a snowmobile rider,
Bicycle rider.
if you get into a collision and you hurt parts of your body, if I lose a leg, I'm still alive and I'll be able to function, albeit changed life, but I'll be able to function. If you get into a collision and you scramble your noodle because you don't wear a good helmet, you're done. Your life is changed in a way that your life is done.
And everyone that you care about, who cares about you, their life has changed too because they're now taking care of you or what's left of you.
Yeah.
If you're so lucky as to survive that. And people argue every which way. Like cycling community hates me for talking about the fact that helmets save lives. They don't prevent collisions, but they do prevent head injury, at least work towards it.
Right.
Your chances are improved dramatically by wearing a helmet. And then see the argument that the people who don't like helmets make is, well, it's, if they can do it, why can't I can do it? And like it's just, we didn't change the law. We don't make the law. Both of us agree wholeheartedly that helmets are a good thing. I will say this. I did try riding without a helmet. I was in Ohio. As soon as I crossed the border into Ohio, I thought this is the coolest thing. I'm going to try driving without a helmet. I made it one exit on the highway. I felt so weird that I pulled over, put it back on, and continued on my way. I would never ride with a
I have
helmet.
exactly the same story. 20 years ago, a friend and I went down to Hawaii and rented Harleys down there, went for a ride, and they have highways down there. They have lots of dust and dirt that goes flying. I had to turn around and ask for a helmet. They have a no helmet law down there, and the rental place doesn't even give out helmets.
Really?
They had to find me an old
Football
really
helmet from
old
the 70s?
bucket. Yep. I couldn't ride without it. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Even if it was a bad helmet, it's better than no helmet. Can you drive in the States with a G2?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. You have everything essentially as a conditional, as a what is the word I'm looking for?
So a G2 license is a full license with conditions imposed, and you have to abide by those conditions even if you're outside of Ontario. And if you're not abiding by them, then your license is invalid.
It was probationary was the word I was looking for.
That's a good
It's
word.
a probationary license, so you're given the authority to drive a motor vehicle, but you do have conditions. So 0 blood alcohol content is one of them, and in the first year you have conditions as to how many passengers between midnight and 5 a.m. you can have, and you have to abide by those. Also, like things like you can't have more passengers than you have seatbelts for. Again, you break any of those, you're going to end up losing your license for 30 days on your return or on conviction and your return to Ontario. Bad things are going to happen, but you do have the ability to use it across the United States.
And if you do get stopped outside of Ontario, we have reciprocal agreements with most other provinces, actually all other provinces, and most other of the states of America. So don't do it.
Steve wants to know if radar jammers are not federal illegal, how can a province enforce it? Are not federal illegal? Well, not all laws are federal. Provincial laws also control these things. Radar jammers for the purposes of evading or preventing police from measuring your speed. Radar detectors, laser jammers, and laser detectors are all devices that prevent police from measuring your speed. And the way the law is written deals with that. So if you have a device that prevents the police from measuring your speed, you are eligible for a wonderful ticket. It's $170. I keep confusing this. 170, 180. Do not know why I always make the mistake.
Yep.
2 demerit points. And we have search and seizure authority. If we see it, if we think you have it, we can pull you over and search the vehicle.
We actually have huge search and seizure authority under that piece of provincial legislation. A lot of them are hidden in vehicles, in caverns, in bodywork, things like that. We just a pure belief that it's there. I'm taking your car apart, and I'm not starting the easy way, and I don't use tools. I'm taking your car apart, and
See,
I'm covered for doing it. Most people, when they see me start opening up stuff, they go, okay.
here it is.
Here it is.
Yeah, everyone's brave until we start taking our Swiss Army knife to your.
Yeah. And we have search and seizure on the person as well, where we would have to get a warrant for certain other things if you had drugs or something like that.
A lot of people-
laser detector, radar detector, all those they don't realize.
Most of the jammers though are hard, like they're attached to the license plate frame or the bumper or like so it's more involved. But people take parts of it, put it into their pockets, and think it's safe, and they're get out of jail. No. Mr. Boy Banyan says right of way. Ambulance or school bus, both with lights on. Well, a school bus has to be stopped to put their lights on. So 2 different functions. One's an emergency vehicle. We won't say ambulance. Let's say all emergency vehicles because really it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, or I don't know if it is that odd, a school bus with the lights on, everyone has to stop for. Police vehicle, ambulance, fire truck as well. There's no authority to go past them. And that's because we're trying to protect children who are going to be walking in front of it, and that would really, really be a bad day. That said, if a school bus driver hears sirens, sees lights, we would ask them to turn off their signals to keep the kids safe. But obviously, if the kids are mid-block, we need those lights to know that we need to stop to avoid hurting somebody.
Right. I would never, even in an emergency situation, go through a stop school bus with the lights flashing and the arm out and the stop sign out. That's one of those unwritten rules. I've done some driving behaviors in undercover cars that's somewhat questionable. Unwritten rule, you do not do that at all. But if I'm following somebody, they may not have those same ethics, values, and morals and be running through there. So,
and there is one caveat. It doesn't mean that every police officer, fire engine, or ambulance is going to stop. It's that the rules say you can't. They may be so caught in the moment of that chase of what they're doing, or they're going to save a baby or there's a shooting. It's possible that they'll make a mistake. They become liable in that situation. It's not a good thing, but the reality is if you hear lights and sirens, we want you to respond quickly as a school bus operator, as a parent. Be aware of the fact that something's coming. And even though the perfect situation is what we described, sometimes imperfect things happen.
lights and sirens signify that there's an additional danger coming. So if you're a school bus driver, please keep your kids safe. Please hold on to them for 1 second until we can get past.
Yes, absolutely. What is the legal age for a child to sit in the front seat in Ontario? You know, it's funny. I love this question because there's a lot of opinions about this, but they're opinions. There's no law preventing a child from sitting in the front seat at any age if they're wearing or using the appropriate equipment to be safely in that spot. So if you need a rear-facing child bucket, that's what you use. If it's a front-facing child seat or a booster seat, they can be in any position except the driver's seat,
Right.
because you need a license to drive. But there's no law. Now, is it safe? Backseat is best until 14 years old.
Absolutely.
The other thing to mention is that don't be in a rush to get out of the child safety restraint. If you have a child that is rear-facing, you know, you can go front-facing much earlier than what the doctors suggest. They say 4 years old. My kids would have been origami pretzeled at 4 years old because I have big kids. I'm a big guy. They come by it naturally. In terms of front-facing, before you get them into a booster, don't be in a rush. There are lines that you have, like there are minimal requirements. Buy and use the seat for the length and totality of their time. Don't rush it. You paid for the seat. Don't be in a rush to upgrade it to a less protective seat is where I'm getting at.
Yep. But to go back to the question, if you have a 2-seater car and your only option is to put your infant in the front seat, that's your option. Not the safest, but that's your only option.
Yeah. I mean, I had a 2-door Jeep. I took my kids in a 2-door Jeep. Well, one kid. In a
2-door Jeep or 2-seat Jeep?
2-seat Jeep. 2-door, 2-seat.
Yep.
And mind you, even if I had 4 seats in that one, the back seats don't look safe at all. At least in the old one that I had.
Yeah.
But they weren't even in the car.
I volunteered with my daughter's school. I went to a safety village. The OPP gave a presentation, and they were telling everybody, no, you can't go in the front seat. So, of course, being me, we had a conversation.
Yeah.
And then his presentation changed after that.
That's good.
Because,
You
they should know the laws too.
You corrected them. Jay Franco says, is it illegal to do a U-turn in the left turning lane on a red light?
Hard, yes.
It's illegal.
Totally illegal.
Absolutely illegal. A red light means red. Don't go. Stop. You can't make a U-turn. You can't cross the line. That would be proceed before green. And we talked about that at the beginning of the show because Evandro came in and said, could you explain proceed before green? So the only time you can cross into the intersection on a red light in the province of Ontario is to make a right turn after coming to a complete stop and then ensuring it's safe to proceed, assuming there's no sign prohibiting it. But there does not offer you that opportunity for the other direction. And I'm not a big fan of U-turns on the best of days, but definitely not in a live intersection.
Especially in intersections, yeah.
Yeah, bad. If 2 lanes are right turn, can we make right turn from second lane on red light? We talked about this earlier in the show, so it's a duplicate, but it is something you can do.
Yep.
Providing there's no sign.
As long as you go from second lane to second lane, first lane to first lane.
Yes, in improper turn. So if you went from the curb lane and went wide into lane number, let's say we're only dealing with 2 lanes so we get easy numbering. Lane 1 being closest to center, lane 2 being curb. If you are in the curb lane, you must be turning into the curb lane, which is lane 2. If you are turning from the next lane over to the left of the curb lane, then you'd have to go into lane 1. If you were to crisscross that, you'd both be improperly turning.
Right.
And so many people do it because no one thinks about these things.
Or they want to make a left turn after their
go into their gas station
or whatever. Nope. Curb to curb, then safe to do so, move over, and then safe to do so, go into the turning lane, and then make your turn.
Is it Facade says, did I read that right? Facade says, hey, good morning, guys. I love what you are doing about safety. So thankful that you are getting value, that you're enjoying it, and much appreciate the appreciation. It's always nice to see the thumbs up.
Yep.
Manny wants to know, how fast can a parking enforcement give you a ticket if you just stopped for a minute?
I've seen them. They're pretty quick.
Generally speaking, so it depends on what we're talking about. If it's a meter, my understanding is that they give you as a policy a 10-minute grace period. If you're talking about a no stopping, no standing zone, then that is different. That you're instantaneously available. There's different conditions. Immediate unloading for certain ones, like no parking and no stopping.
No parking, no stopping, no standing.
But
are all different.
Right. And I confuse them, and I don't write parking tickets, so it's less of a concern for me. But Erin Urquhart talks about this, and she has many, many videos. So I see that you're on TikTok. Check out TPS_bike cart. She's on all the social media platforms, but on TikTok in particular, she has videos that explain the differences in the signs. So some of them allow you to have immediate unloading and loading of passengers. Some of them don't let you do anything. And I can never remember if it's no stopping or no. I think no standing is the one that you can't do anything. Yeah. And no stopping, you can immediately drop someone off. Got to know before you go. Let's see.
No, you got to know before you stop.
That's true. That's true. Can someone be fined while driving and recording? Well, let me ask you this. Am I using my cell phone when I do this? Well, according to the courts, you are. So even holding it with the screen on or off, battery good or dead, you're using it at this point. If you're recording, you're using. If the screen is visible to the driver while it's mounted and you're recording, you're using. So the only time that I can tell you that you are allowed to record is, let's say you had a GoPro mounted and you're not touching it, just recording. Dash cam mounted and recording. if this was mounted in such a way that the screen was not visible to you and it was recording and you were not touching it, I would say it would be illegal. It would be legal, I should say. So it depends. But again, if you're holding it, your $615 ticket is being written for you. Sammy says, just want to thank you for all the hard work you officers do. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sammy. Appreciate it. Jumanji, this is my friend who I told you met from North Bay. And says,
you talking to somebody.
yeah, that's the somebody.
Yeah.
Can an operator proceed before green with an emergency vehicle behind with lights and sirens if safe? Can an operator proceed before green? Okay, so this is the question where you're in an intersection. Sorry, you're waiting at a red light, and an ambulance is behind you, fire trucks behind you, somebody with lights and sirens, and you want to help them out by getting out of the way. Can you do it?
What can you do?
Well, you can make a right turn on a red if it's safe to do so and permitted.
From the correct lane.
From the correct lane, and that's it. So, it's funny. I always, when I hear a siren, I always wait to see what they're going to do. Like I'm really eager to find out. I'm yet to find someone ever get behind and just honk people. We will go into oncoming traffic.
Yes. So if you see emergency vehicles, we always take the lane of least resistance, even though it's the oncoming lane, which causes some additional risk.
Mm-hmm.
But we will go into the oncoming lane, coming out to an intersection if it's on a red, fresh red, stale red, and then everybody should be stopping, hearing the sirens coming, and then we can proceed through that way. If we happen to get stuck in a situation where it's a divided highway, there's nowhere to go and there's no way to get out, I have turned off the siren before.
Yep, 100%.
And then just waited.
I was beside an ambulance just off the highway, and so I don't know where this message came in, but I think Peter hit the wrong button.
Woohoo!
He's not. I can see him. I don't know if he can hear me.
Hey, 22,861 steps yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to finish my. Oh, let's go back here. So, just to finish off that thought is that he says apologies. So the deal is that I came to a light and I was beside an ambulance with the lights on, no siren. So I said, "Hey, those are on." They go, "Yeah, but we're waiting." So I would have turned everything off because, of course, now everyone's looking and wondering.
Yep.
But they were still acknowledging that they weren't trying to clear traffic at that point. Yep. They were right in front of a hospital.
It's not safe to push people into a live intersection.
Panic. People do weird things thinking they go, "Oh, I gotta go," or they think that we're there for them,
right,
depending on what the situation. Is it against the law passing ambulance with lights on? Ambulance in slow lane going speed limit. Well, it's illegal because you're going over the speed limit. If they're doing the speed limit, you should be doing the speed limit. Everyone should be doing the speed limit.
Yes. Is it illegal to pass an ambulance with the lights on? Technically, passing an ambulance with the lights on? No. But you are supposed to pull over when there's flashing
So if
light.
you pass them, the moment you pass them, you have to pull over.
I was going to say, then the light's behind you and you have to pull over.
So you're creating a situation of, and you don't know what they're about to do. They may have their lights on with the intention to move over. They're looking for the person.
Looking for an address, looking for a person, looking for debris on the road, looking for maybe a dead body on the road.
Yeah. So
all of a sudden it's in front of you and you're looking at an ambulance
or you're running over the thing they were about to,
right,
go to. So it's just a bad day,
Give them space. They're doing a job. They're responding to an emergency. Give them space.
Just that we're going to wrap up because we're at 11:30, but I want to give anyone the opportunity to throw a dad joke our way because we haven't talked about it. We haven't had any dad joke. And now, granted, Peter may have not realized we were looking for dad jokes. May have skipped any. Peter, did you see any dad jokes in the list? If there weren't any dad jokes and you want to, you skipped them. So if you have any dad jokes, cut and paste, throw them up there again. He says, "My bad, sorry."
And Akela will always put in a Yogi Berra quote.
No, he used up the Yogi Berra calendar. Now he's on to a different one.
Oh.
But let's see here. What in the moment while people are possibly maybe using dad jokes, Logan says, "Who has priority when a bike lane right to the car lane when the car turns right of the car?" So This is an interesting concept. There are cycle tracks and there are bicycle lanes and there are sharrows, and each one has a slightly different impact on the way you handle them. But at the end of the day, you need to be paying attention as the driver of what's coming. You can't, it's not reasonable to turn and expect a bicycle to stop on a dime, but it's also not reasonable for a cyclist to not even reduce their speed, seeing that a car is signaling and making a turn. They do not have the right of the way. It's a area that is working together.
It depends. And if I'm making a right and there's a bicycle lane coming along, I will move into that bicycle lane on the dotted line portion of it.
Very important.
And the bicycle has to wait behind me until I make my right turn because they are in the far right lane.
Or if safe, they can pass on your left, which is how passing works, and they can continue along their way. But then
Then there are cycle tracks.
and cycle tracks are delineated by a either color or barrier, and they're slightly different, but there's still an obligation to
Of
not
both.
yes, to be courteous to one another. But very often I see that both cars rush and don't look, and cyclists just don't even reduce their speed. And there's a belief that they would, and there's an obligation that they should.
And as a car driver, you're going to get a big scratch down your car made by an uninsured cyclist.
Yes,
And as a cyclist, you're going to get a great big headache because you're running into the side of a car.
or worse.
So, which is good enough reason in my mind that both of them should be really paying attention and trying to avoid this.
Sadly, very often the attitude that I've been seeing is, well, they should do this, or they ought to do that, or it's not my
It's
responsibility.
my right away.
You can be right and seriously hurt, and you still lose.
Yep.
And oddly enough, when we make the report, we write down everything. And very often, there's a lot of people who make evidence, who give testimony. There are witnesses who give statements, and they are honest and uninvolved. And it doesn't always look good for everybody involved.
Right.
Okay, this is the third time we've answered this one, I think, today from My.
No.
2 right turn lanes. Can they both turn right on a red or only the rightmost? Both can, assuming there's no signs, assuming it's safe and legal to do. I mean,
And they're designated as right turn lanes.
yes, it can't be a straight through lane that you're going to turn right on. It has to be a right turn lane. This is a good one. Is it illegal to refuse taking field sobriety testing?
Is it legal? Absolutely. And the penalty for doing that
Same as if you fail.
just as bad as if you fail or you're impaired or you're over 80.
It is
In fact, it would be a little bit more because we can suspend your driver's license immediately for that.
Yeah. Additionally, it is really easy to convict you when we have it all on tape that you did this.
Yep.
I'm not doing it. Well, sir, we're giving you another chance. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. Okay, you're refusing? Yes, I'm refusing.
Done. Case for the crown.
You can argue that we were, we misread your actions as anything you want, but when you say no, I don't want, we give you the 2 or 3 chances to change your mind, and it's slam dunk.
Same as a roadside screening test.
Yes.
Here's the machine. Here's how you use it. Go ahead, sir. And if they refuse to do it or pretend to do it or say they can't, we'll give you a couple tries. But after that, it's a refusal.
We have a question of, what state are you guys? We are actually the Toronto Police in Ontario, Canada. And we are speaking primarily to Canadian and Ontario law. Although many of the laws we discuss are universal. We talk about safety. It's pretty much everywhere. The criminal stuff we talk about is Canada-wide. And the traffic stuff we speak to is very Ontario-centric. But again, a lot of it's the same.
And a lot of it actually has to be Toronto-centric because we have some weird stuff here that is different from the rest of the province. So
Yes. And so always, if you're somewhere outside of Toronto, the suggestion is to speak with your local law enforcement agencies to find out what's happening there.
the one thing that we do talk about that is worldwide is common sense. Driving, walking, bicycling, motorcycling, everything, common sense. If we all have common sense, we'll all get along better.
Yes. I'm scrolling up to see. I see that Peter is not at his desk.
He's gone.
He's gone. I'm just looking to see if there's a dad joke. I'm just looking for dad joke, something labeled as such.
What are we at here? I'm gone too. So.
Yeah, it's 11:30. We got to go, but I was hoping that there would be a dad. Maybe we should add. Let's add. Let's add. This is very scary. Let's ask ChatGPT for a dad joke because we can.
That's cheating.
Well, I don't want to.
And I don't actually have a good one either. So.
Not you?
Yeah, I know.
That's very disappointing.
I know.
What should we do? Let's ask for, can you give me a dad joke about traffic safety because I want it to be related to the live stream we're currently in? Here's a dad joke for your live stream. Why did the traffic light go to therapy?
I don't know.
Because it couldn't stop being green with envy. I don't know what is.
All
All right, we're done.
That's it.
I pressed the wrong button, or did I? Yeah, I did. It has been magical and amazing, and so nice to be in an air-conditioned environment. Michael says there are dad jokes, and unfortunately, they were way, way back, and they were never flagged. So because of that, I can't see them, which is why I was saying, hey, can someone cut and paste them? We'll try and find them.
It's a training issue. We'll address that for tomorrow.
You know, this is the first time he did it.
Yep.
So I think he did a great job. He was on it with the questions. And somebody asked another question that looked really good.
Nope, I'm out.
No, you're out. You're out. Okay.
If you're continuing going, I'm a go.
Someone sent me, Liz sent me a video, but thank you for dropping in. It was fun having you.
All right.
And there was something else. Oh, here we go. So I don't know what Hobbit wants to know about what Myron Demke, who is our chief of police, had comments about leaving car keys to avoid home invasions. I don't know that he said it or that I've heard him say it or what comments he made. So I can tell you that the advice is good advice. It's not about theft reduction at that point. Leaving your keys at the front of the house is about harm reduction. You see, if you have your keys hidden and they really want your car, bad people with guns tend to wake you up in the middle of the night, point the said gun at you, and then demand the keys under threat of harming you. We don't want you to be traumatized. We don't want you to be hurt. We certainly don't want you to get shot, all for car keys that could be left at the front door. So if they were already brazen enough to break in, they take what they are there for and leave. Harm reduction, not theft reduction. It's a big difference. We want you to do everything you can to make your vehicle less attractive to car thieves. So putting in those things like the club and some people are going very high end and in certain communities are putting bollards on their vehicles or on their driveways to prevent cars from being able to be removed. What you do and how much money you invest in making your vehicle less attractive for theft, that's up to you. I can't give you advice there. There's obviously low-cost ways and high-end ways. People put immobilizers in, install kill switches, put trackers. People do all sorts of things. But the concept of the keys to the front door, not outside the front door, some people have manipulated and twisted it into, but inside the front door, I put it in a Faraday box, but I certainly don't want to be woken up by someone that I'm now going to either be fighting with or getting hurt by. Everyone's tough and says that they can handle anything until bad stuff happens to them. All right, that is it for me. I have got to go, but I will be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time, to do this all again, answer your traffic and police questions. I just saw this, Kugel or Chulant? I'm a Kugel guy. Yeah. Chulant? I mean, I won't say no to Chulant, let's say, but Kugel all the way. Have a great day, everybody. Hope you have a magical day. Drive safe, drive sober, park legally, and, of course, smile because it looks good on you. Take care.
Your future career starts with a vision. A vision of opportunities ahead, where you can see a path to a noble career, serving the city of Toronto. Where do you see yourself? Toronto Police Service. Apply today.